You're listening to Partnernomics Podcast, where we discuss the art and science of developing successful strategic partnerships. To learn more about the suite of Partnernomics solutions, visit partnernomics.com.
All right, so thanks for joining us today. We are joined by Danny ONeill. So Danny is the founder of the Roasterie. And man, if you love entrepreneurial stories, you are absolutely going to love Danny's story. So Danny, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Danny, if you wouldn't mind, I know you could share the story better than I can, but just tell us a little bit about the Roasterie, you know, for folks that might not live in the Kansas City area or might not be familiar with your company.
You bet. So we're we like to, we've always aspired to be a Midwestern based regional roaster and specialty coffee roaster. We try to find the best coffee we can find in the world, roast it the best way known to mankind, and get it to the customer as fast as humanly possible.
And so Danny, you guys, if I'm not mistaken, wholesale coffee, retail coffee to end user customers. You guys have different coffee shops, all around the greater Kansas City area.
Yeah, for the first 10 years, 12 years, I guess, we were wholesale only. And then we're kind of severely pressured into opening up some of our own stores. And first we said we were going to have one, and then two was maximum. We still only have 9, which is relatively small, spread across our metropolitan Kansas City area. But still about 90% of our revenue is wholesale, fine restaurants, lots of universities, super robust website. We ship coffee all across the world. And we really, not in an arrogant way, but we really focus on the top end, just the best coffee that we can find. And not everybody gets that, and not everybody appreciates that, rather. And I totally get it. Not everybody has a differentiating palate. There's some kind of food, I probably eat that would just, a chef might find revolting. So we don't all have these super picky taste buds for everything. But what we try to do is just really focus on those customers who have a differentiating palate, who just love awesome coffee. So that's what we do.
So Danny, I want to go back to the very beginning. Yeah. And so I guess over 25 years ago now. And so as legend has it, you literally started the company not only in your house, but in your basement. And you grabbed a buddy and you guys were like sawing through floors to put in, I guess, the chimneys and different things for your roasters. I mean, that is like as entrepreneurial as it gets. If you would kind of tell us about the early days of starting your business, but really the vision. What did you have in mind for the Roasterie whenever you looked into the future?
Yeah, well, the initial inspiration, like a lot of them, came inadvertently. I was a small town Iowa guy until I was 18 years old. I'd never been on a jet. The short story, I was dating our AFS student from Australia, from Tasmania. And so that inspired me just on a whim to fill out an application to be a foreign exchange student. I didn't tell my parents, didn't tell anybody, just did it. And then right after Christmas, my senior year, they said, okay, here's your family. You're going to Costa Rica. And this was in 1978. So I went to Costa Rica for a year to live. And during that time, I went coffee picking. And so for me, coffee picking was really similar to growing up. We walked beans, detasseled corn, chopped thistles, fixed fence, baled hay. Right up until I was a sophomore, junior in college, we did that. So it was real, intuitive, I guess. I came back, started school, had never drank coffee before, but my first final started drinking coffee like crazy. And wow, did I make up for it. So I've drank an obscene amount of coffee every single day since then. And graduated, got in the corporate world, and did about 10 years in various sales positions and some marketing. And then I decided I wanted to do something else and really purposeful. And I really racked my brain. I admire and appreciate and encourage people going through that, because it's not easy. It's not like some little idea drops from heaven that, oh, I know what I'm going to do. So, but I just kept coming back to coffee. And this is 1993. And there wasn't really a very robust coffee culture in the Midwest. Certainly not a specialty coffee culture. And I had just been, our company was based in Seattle, so I'd been going out there once a quarter at least since the mid '80s. And so I just took a whim, thought if this doesn't work, I'll join the Peace Corps. And I had $17,000, spent $12,000 on a roaster, learned how to roast, spent about $500 on revamping my basement, and bought a car for $800, a '77 Chevy Impala, and just started hoofing it. And so for the first 100 days, I didn't make one single sale, not one. And a pound of coffee back then was $3.75 wholesale, and I couldn't sell one to save my soul. And I was scared to death every single day. If I could have, I would have quit. If nobody would have known, I would have quit every day, multiple times, every single day. But finally made a sale in December of 1993, and then another, and then another. And I think now that I've never added it up, but I'm sure it's been more than a couple $100 million now off that $17,000. But as you know, there's I call them dark days. It's just like a relationship or a marriage or anything else. It's not all great, right? And it better be love if you're having that, if you're getting married. And I think the same thing with a business. You better absolutely have this intrinsic burning passion for whatever it is, because it's certainly not going to be the thought of dollar signs that gets you through those tough days, right? Same thing with the relationship. It better be, better be rooted in love, because, hard days are going to come at some point. And then I think the way it manifests, if you don't have that kind of, it's like, well, I didn't sign up for this. Why didn't this isn't what I had in mind, Sometimes people start businesses and they don't really think it through, and they're like, I started this because my friends told me I was a good cook. The last time I was blah, 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 and that's why I always think, well, you started a business, you had a hobby, and then you created a business. And the business of a business, as you very well know, is you need to live to fight another day. You got to invest in, and so it's there's a lot of parts of it that take you out of your comfort zone and what you really love to do, but it's all part of the package,
Most not only just having a passion for it, but almost an obsession for it. Like, as you said, man, there's peaks and valleys, and the valleys, man, they could be really scary. And if you're not tunnel visioned on really executing,
absolutely,
I mean, you're gonna give way. Then I'd love for you to speak about, a lot of people, especially like kind of as they start up their business, they get a few years into it. It's like, oh my God, we're cash flow positive. We're now finally profitable. Life is good. My battles, my big challenges are over. You're, over 25 years into this. Did the scary days ever end?
They don't. They really don't. I think you build up like a resistance. So that notion, like I have two young kids. I was telling one the other day, I said, there's an expression, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And Sophie's 11. I was explaining the kind of the meaning behind that. And I think that's a lot to do with business as well. You build up this, it's not unlike just growing up, right? That when you get your heart broken the first time, it's devastating. You can't imagine life going on again, right? You go through that. You have to go through all these things. You just have to. I think wisdom is coupled with experience there, and it's really hard to have that kind of wisdom without experience. All of us would love to short circuit that if we could, right? Who wouldn't? But some of it you just got to go through, just like growing up. So I think that that comparative is it's just really strong with the business too. So you just got to keep going through it. Even today, I mean, some of the stuff that we're going through this week would probably be devastating if you hadn't gone through it before. So this notion that kind of this too will pass. There's, one door closes, another one opens, and first time you don't get a job, right? You're devastated. And then the older you get, you know what? I look back now and I'm thankful for every one of those doors that closed, because it allowed other ones to open up. And I think the same thing with business. And it's relative to what does change, I think, that gets harder is like I'm a small town Iowa guy, and we bet the farm. You bet the farm. Well, when you don't have a farm, it's a lot easier to bet. If you said, "Well, geez, I started this, I'm all in." What was it? Boy, I had $1,000. Well, okay, but when you start to assemble a team and assets, and you put everything on the line, that is, the bigger your farm is, the harder it is to bet the farm. But
even the decisions that you make that not only affect you, right, but now you have, gosh, how many employees? So it's almost like
you are spot on. We just went through this last night, and it just in real time, and I said, well, my first reaction is, what is best for those 150 associates of ours? That scares me if I think about that responsibility. They're all counting on us. And sometimes you think, oh my God, if they only knew how I didn't know, or, I'm rolling the dice. But we're pretty, I think that question is insightful, because it is real time every day. It never changes. And guess what? You know what? Right now, huge companies are going through the same thing. It's all relative. You could say, well, Google, you're sitting on how many billions of cash? But it's always the same. There's a finite amount of time, finite amount of resources. Where are you going to put or deploy for the best return, the best future? And you're Midwest, I think that has helped us too, because we've just had a very, very long term. We haven't ever been in this get rich quick, or hurry up and start this and flip it. How fast can we do this and flip it and do something else? And no judging in that, but if you have a really long time frame, like I've heard Warren Buffett talk sometimes, there's all these gyrations up and down. Even this week on the stock market, I'm oblivious to it, because none of those things are going to affect decisions I make, because I have we're super long-term oriented. And I always felt that if I make the best decisions for the long term for the company, it's going to end up being the best decision for myself, my family, and our team. So sometimes, you make mistakes, obviously, but you learn and go on.
Dan, it's a great segue into the next question, is innovation. So you're talking about, being kept up at night, or just placing some big bets, but what is the antithesis of that, right? It's being the Kodak, it's being the Borders book. Yep. If you're not placing big bets, that's even scarier, because if you're not changing, if you're not growing, then you're going to be going. Innovation. When I think of the Roasterie, I think of a very innovative company with some of the cool things that you guys have done and continue to do. Talk to me. What does innovation mean? And then I think whenever somebody probably thinks of a coffee company, they don't think of innovation. Maybe you guys are super innovative. Talk to us about that.
You bet. I absolutely love that. And as my role has narrowed over the years, I could just do that all day long. And it sounds goofy or counterintuitive, but for me, it's rooted in fear. I am afraid of what's coming around that corner. So I still read a lot about Edison, Henry Ford. And I am just it's some time back, I did this commencement at this college, and they asked me to come back for a tour, and I came back, and this was years ago when the 3D printing was just coming out, and somebody said, "You're a coffee roaster. Why are you here?" And I said, "Because I am afraid of what's coming around that corner." So even today, I've read about electric cars, electric flying cars, electric motorcycles, electric cruise ships and ferries. I can't wait for that driverless car to be able to stop at our factory. I open it up, and I can put, if there's no driver in there, I can put one latte in there and ship it to you in Lee Summit or anywhere else. Absent that driver, almost anything is possible. So nonstop, every day, all day, that's what I'm thinking about. And I get kind of snapped back into the present day sometimes, but by 98, I think we were on our either second or third website. We had no flipping idea what the hell we were doing, but I just had this feeling that was going to be it. So there's an insatiable curiosity. I'm not preaching this is how you need to be. This is just how we are. I'm insanely curious. I'm insatiable reader. I just want to see what's coming, what's coming, what's coming. And even as they say it, I think of Henry Ford. He said, you know, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. We're not always right. We did some stuff in the early 2000s that, you know, it was like, if you like this, then you'll like this. If you like this, you like this. Way before that, we saw it on the internet. I just can, after I know you a little bit, I can just dial in what coffee you're going to like and da 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 da. But we created this thing way before, 10 years before the technology existed. So it was wrong. I mean, it wasn't wrong, but it was a gamble, and it was an affordable gamble, but, you know, we missed. So you're not always right, but so, you know, back in 95, I thought, after seeing what was going on in Korea and Japan, I thought the wave of the future, and you looked around and everybody's drinking Red Bull, the, you know, 8th, 9th graders. We thought we had a coffee discussion in New York that fall. Anyway, we just predicted by 2020, again, we didn't know, still don't know, but by 2020, most coffee beverages consumed would be cold-based, iced coffee. And then some of us kind of being kind of smart asses, we said, I don't care if it's, you know, I remember saying, I don't care if they drink it hot or cold or warm, as long as it's roastery coffee, I'm good. But the point though is, you know, 20 years ago almost, we predicted that cold-based coffee beverages would outsell. We could have been wrong, and we still could be wrong. But the point is, we became really good at doing cold-based, cold brew coffee in 1994, 1995, 1996. Then we put in a canning line and started doing it, you know, 3 years ago. And then we started doing nitro. You know, I went to the Guinness factory in Dublin to see that, and they introduced their nitrogen into their Guinness to celebrate their 200-year anniversary in 1959. So they've been doing it for a while. But so, I mean, I appreciate you asking a question, but so we just look at everything. I look at patterns, you know, for what, you know, the internet, PayPal, how's that going to affect everything? Geofencing, you know, RFID chips, on and on and on. And then I always kind of try to ask the question, so what? So what? How is that going to affect me, John Q. customer? What do I care? How can I use that? And then common sense, just good old Iowa common sense, or Midwestern common sense rather. Think, oh my God, well, if they're doing that for that, I'll bet this would work. And then just like everybody else, we'd like to try things. We'd like to try. If you're going to fail fast, fail more often, fail cheaper, fail faster. And I just have that. And luckily enough, I was kind of born with it. You know what? That doesn't work. So what? You want 5 more ideas? I have 5 more. And just keep trying things, you know, and not that, oh, no, we tried that. That didn't work. So I'm really trying to instill the same in my kids. Kind of, so what? You know what? Get back up. You know, we used to ride horses and we'd fall off. My dad would say, well, what the hell are you going to do? Lay there? Get back up on that horse. And I think you have to do that with just about everything, you know.
That's right. So Danny, the world that we live in is business-to-business partnerships, having organizations work together. Tell us a little bit about how you've built the Roasterie over the past 25 years and what partnerships have meant to your organization.
You bet. When you just asked me, I'll tell a story if we have time to play it. But so growing up in the Midwest, we just it's not in our DNA because we've only been around, you know, here in the country for several hundred years. But it is definitely in our culture, partnerships, especially here in the Midwest. Growing up, you know, barn raising, putting fences in, all kinds of different things. Some of you would get sick. Everybody would come and help them harvest, or if somebody got sick, somebody would help them, you know, do all the planting. I think it's in our nature here in the Midwest, right? You just help people, you do the right thing. Then not everybody could afford it. You know, back in the prairie days when I'm talking about in forward, not everybody could afford to have their own threshing machine, their own planter, their own harvester, combines, so on and so forth. So I think it's kind of rooted in our culture here of partnering, right? I think it is. So we sure don't have lay claim to anything like that. So it was only natural for us to do that. And then I get in, and I'm not unique on this, I get a lot more joy bragging about your idea. I mean, who wants to hear somebody talk about I mean, it's sickening, right? So I love trumpeting somebody else's idea. And it's the same thing with the collaboration. Years ago, I was on this European coffee house tour, and this friend of mine had this CD. It was Pavarotti and Friends. And it was Pavarotti singing with Zucchero from Italy and Cyndi Lauper and all sorts of disparate people that and that made it so cool. There's another one like with Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett. That kind of thing, right? You think, who in the world would put those two together? I love that kind of partnership, right? I love that kind of collaboration. So coffee and chocolate, what we did with Andres years ago was pretty intuitive. But then, there's a local distillery, vodka, Clear 10. So we did a coffee a coffee with Clear 10. We call it Dizzy 3. So it's this coffee flavored vodka that's just killer. And we did a coffee beer with Boulevard a couple times. We did another one with Epic and Epic Brewing, and that was unbelievable also. We have a coffee infused ketchup, a coffee infused balsamic vinegar that absolutely tastes like a dessert. I have it every single night on the salad. And then we have a couple more coffee infused rub, a coffee infused barbecue sauce, of course, from Kansas City. But oh my God, that is so good. It's a molasses based. It just makes me hungry thinking about it. And then we tried to do coffee candles without scents. That's a tough one. Never have conquered that one. If you want to do it natural, I have a super, super sensitive nose, and any scents in candles just plug me up. So it's got to be 100% natural. But so then other companies too, right? So we're, again, it's philosophical. And for me, I take no credit. It's just common sense. What I also like to do, you have our best interests at heart, or you don't. We have your best interests at heart. So who's it about? Who's the hero? And if the hero is just me, well, no one's going to want to partner with somebody like that. It's like it's the antithesis of a prima donna. So we love to brag about Kansas City. I love to brag about, Michael Smith or Jasper or Colby or whoever the case is, right? I love it. And if I'm associated with them and partnering with them, and I know I'm not unique in this way, I love that way better than look at me. It's like, look at that. How cool is that? Whatever that is. So we just, from office products to everything, we have never not had this, support local, buy local. And I don't take any credit for that. And it annoys me when you have to explain that to somebody. My 13-year-old could have, 3 years ago could have told you the multiplier effect of $1 spent in Kansas City versus $1 spent with a company based in Europe or somewhere else. It's about 7 to 8. So growing up in Iowa, again, it's just common sense. Each year we did a float for homecoming, right? And we would go around to the local businesses and ask for donations to help do the float. And every one of those businesses knew where you bought your refrigerator, if you bought it at Nebraska Furniture Mart, or if you bought it in Denison, Iowa, where you got your class pictures taken, where you bought your car. And as 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, they would drill us if we got it somewhere else. So we weren't, it was just, of course you're going to buy local. And it's not like, look at me buying local. You were stupid if you didn't. And sometimes you'd be shamed if you didn't. So fast forward for 25 years, everything that we can do, we do locally. And again, for us, it's massively common sense. But I think the longer we do that, the more people know it, the more they appreciate it. And then if you're one of our suppliers, you go that extra mile because you know how we are, and vice versa.
But Danny, obviously you're super passionate about, building businesses and developing people, developing leaders. But I want to ask you, and I know you're heavily involved in mentoring programs. Who is a person or maybe a couple folks that have been really influential on you and your development and in building your business philosophies and leadership philosophies?
You bet. I am so blessed and lucky, and I don't say that lightly. There's a long story, but short story is my mentor for 23 years was Henry Block, and then Barnett Helzberg also. So Barnett Helzberg sold his company to Warren Buffett, and 1994 started the Helzberg Entrepreneur Mentoring Program. So at the beginning of 1995, I got hooked up with Henry Block and worked with Henry from then all the way up until March of this year, and that was absolutely instrumental. So we started in '93. That was only 7-8 years after Wall Street with Michael Douglas, Gordon Gekko, Greed is Good. There was a tract in society still at that part where you just fiduciary responsibility to the stockholder. It's there was a strong tract in our country that way. And I didn't know anything about business. I did a poli-sci major. I really feel like I still don't know that much about business, but just common Midwestern sense. I just feel lucky that I had the mentors that I did. And it's kind of like, in a sense, saying, oh, okay, is that how you do it? I don't know anything about business. Okay, I'll do it that way. Well, that way was the way of, Henry Block and Barnett Helzberg. And there was this story, true story, short story is, there was this, Ewing Kauffman Foundation. Ewing Kauffman started Marion Labs and became Marion Merrill Dow, this huge company. He sold it. He owned the Royals, of course. He sold it and created a foundation to help entrepreneurs, right? So that story was being told that supposedly that this person gets off a plane from the East Coast, comes back, he's kind of strutting around, bragging about this deal that he created and how much money they're going to make. And Ewing Kauffman says, well, how about the other guy? Can he make a dime? And this person says, well, I don't know how. Ewing Kauffman put him back on the flight and back to the East Coast and renegotiate the price up. And Ewing Kauffman said, if the other guys, we don't make anything. If the other guys isn't making money, they're not going to be around. We're not going to be around. It's stupid. It's a partnership. Our partners have to make money. And again, today you might think, well, yeah, but I think that was in the early 80s. Well, that was Ewing Kauffman was a great mentor to Barnett Helzberg, and Barnett Helzberg has been a great mentor to us. So we had that kind of philosophy rooted in. And by the way, several years ago, I was sitting next to that guy who did that. And I was at a Royals game, and I said, hey, I've been telling this story kind of mindlessly for 21 years. I'd love to know, is it true? And it was Mike Herman. And Mike Herman says, not only was it true, it was me. And then later I said, Mike, I sent him an email. I said, I'm sending out a quarterly newsletter, and I just want to tell that story. I just want to make sure it's okay. I won't use your name and I won't use your position. And he said, you can use my name and my position, because it was a pivotal moment in his life. And then I think of the hundreds and thousands of people in Kansas City that learn from that and then practice based on that. And again, it's common sense, but not always common practice. If I can get somebody, I'm going to get them. And you might do that if you have this short-term philosophy. Again, I sound preachy about it. I'm not. We just have this long-term. Again, for me, it's just common sense, right? We're going to live to fight another day, hopefully both of us, and we both got to win here, and then we can talk about it. And then sometimes I might say, you know what? Geez, Bob, we can't make a dime there. I totally appreciate it. Totally appreciate somebody else might have a competitive advantage that we don't. But that's not going to be good for our team or our company. And we move on.
It's like if you have that quick transactional mindset of that short-term win, you might win today, you might win this week, but you're not going to be around next month. It's really that collaborative, long-term view. So I love what you said with your business. It's not about winning this month. How are we going to change the world? How are we going to go decade after decade and really change something? So Danny, I got one last question for you before we let you go. So I want you to speak to your 25-year-old self. So given all this wisdom that you've gained over the years, if you could speak to your 25-year-old self, what kind of advice would you give him?
Oh my gosh, you just gave me goosebumps with that. That is a very compelling question. I would say, keep your eye on the goal, long-term goal, and then fit. There's that notion of culture will trump strategy any day of the week. It's the same thing with people. It doesn't matter how good they are or what their experience or skill sets are. It's fit. So surround yourself with fit. I probably needed 15 or 18 years to figure that out. It seems so intuitive, but it's hard. But yeah, and then and I God, we made so many mistakes, but I think I would like to keep your mind on the goal. Fit. You always know it's all about the people. You know that. I knew that at 25, but what I didn't know at 25 was the chemistry fit part. You think you're back into that, but you don't. You start with that. If you have the right fit, you can learn just about anything. And no matter what you know, if you don't fit or if your character or values aren't the same, nothing else matters.
Man, it's awesome advice.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Awesome.
I appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
Well, Danny, thank you for sharing your insights, man. It's been great catching up with you. And, man, good luck and continued success to the Roasterie. We'll be watching you.
Thank you. If I can ever do anything for you, let me know.
Thank you.
Partnernomics Podcast is brought to you by Partnernomics. Learn how to leverage the power of partnership. To listen to more episodes of Partnernomics Podcast, visit partnernomics.com.